Well, hello class. It is February, almost the middle of February actually, which is great because we have a new week in our class, of course. And so as we go to our content for this week, we are talking about communicating with technologies. In other words, we're talking about how can we get students to communicate with technologies? How can we communicate ourselves, but also get our students to communicate with technologies, as this would be an important 21st century skill for our students. And so how can we get them to share, to upload, to create, to communicate, and talk and discuss with technologies? And so you'll be reading about this in the readings for Chapter 5. One thing I wanted to mention is that we do have online office hours this week. I've been meaning to do these more often. So if you have any questions about things or any any other things that you'd like to talk to me about, Wednesday at 11 to 12:30, that's online office hours. You can click on this link right here during that time, and I'll be on the other end, and we can talk about things or questions that you might have. There is readings for Chapter 5. Again, you're going to be reading about communicating with technologies. There's a presentation on the same topic that you'll watch. And then there's an introduction to interactive whiteboard software. This is looking ahead a little bit. It gets you to look at interactive whiteboard software items from a book that I've written, and to be able to learn about those if you need to for a future assignment in which you'll be able to implement or have to implement an interactive whiteboard software lesson or two. So that's the introduction to interactive whiteboard software. If you're already a ninja on interactive whiteboard software, know how to create a lot of interactive activities on your own, well, you'll see, based on what I present here, you'll see where you're at. So you may already know some of the things that you need to know, but it's a good idea to take a look at that and to see what you can learn. And then this week we also have the Authentic Learning Project due. And so this is an important project to finish by Saturday at 11:59 p.m. So let's take a look at this in a little bit more depth. For this project, you are going to choose an existing lesson plan that you have created and or taught to your students, and that you feel is not yet very authentic. Your job is to add a technology element to this lesson and also make the lesson more authentic. And this means that learners must be involved in activities similar to what professionals might do, and learners must see how what they learn is used outside of school. Authentic learning is usually more realistic for older students than for younger students. So authentic learning, okay? So your job is to take a lesson plan that you may have already created and or taught, may not have taught it, that's okay, and update it with these authentic elements. For those of you who may not be current classroom teachers, you can still do this assignment if you have a previous lesson plan that you have created and maybe even not taught. Or you can, if you are not a current classroom teacher and you haven't taught, then maybe you could also find a lesson plan out there. So there's lesson plan sites. You can do a search for some basic lesson plan ideas and use that as your original unchanged lesson plan, and then update that lesson plan to include a technology element that makes the lesson more authentic. So those are a few options for those of you who may not be classroom teachers. And other options may also be there as well. If you feel like that doesn't quite fit what you do and what you want to be learning, then send me an email and let me know, and we can work out something else. There might be an opportunity instead to do a literature review on some of these topics, or an opportunity to write a paper about some of these things instead. But the assignment includes, so these items should be submitted as part of this assignment: the original unchanged lesson plan, and the updated lesson plan that now includes the technology element that makes the lesson more authentic. So that will include a lesson title and summary, a list of content standards and objectives, a description of the learners, including grade and subject. So this is going beyond probably what, if you're a classroom teacher, probably what you do each day. You know, you probably don't have this detailed of a lesson plan to go on, but just think about if you have a substitute and they're not sure what to do. You want to include a lot of detail about what to do in your class because you're not going to be the one there teaching it. So that's a good way to think about the level of detail that you need in this, is to really give a high level of detail so that each step somebody would know what to do. So moving on with these items, you'll have a list of materials and technologies used by the teacher and students, a list of learning activities that would be completed during the lesson, with a detailed description of each activity, including what the teacher and students will do during each step or each activity. And those should be aligned with the objectives, and then a description of the technology element that is added to the lesson and how this technology supports the authentic learning in the lesson. So that's a separate paragraph or two talking just specifically about, okay, what's the technology element in this lesson and how it supports authentic learning. And remember, we've been doing a few things to find technology, right? You've had opportunities this week, last week, and well, last few weeks anyway, to look at different technologies that will allow you to do this, to make something more authentic. So be thinking about those it's my creation discussions that you've been doing and opportunities to look into other technologies in this class, and maybe choose from one of those for this lesson that you're creating. And then finally, you'll include an assessment plan that shows how you would measure student learning, and that should be aligned with the objectives as well. And then this assignment will be graded with this rubric, and obviously it would be submitted in D2L so that I can grade it with this rubric. So it looks for those elements. So that's the assignment due at the end of this week. There is no discussion this week from what I'm seeing in the content, right? There's just that assignment and the other readings and opportunities. And if you have questions about the assignment or ideas that you might have with that, then the online office hours are available to you on Wednesday, or you can always email me and ask questions about it as well. So that should pretty much do it for this week. One thing that a lot of people have forgotten with this assignment in the past is they've forgotten to include that special paragraph about how the technology element is, what is the technology element and how does it support what authentic learning is. So don't forget that. Now, as I've thought about this week a little bit more, I've added one other item to the week. It's this intro to January 30th week. So on January 30th, we talked about authentic learning and designing with technology. So we've talked about authentic learning in preparation for this assignment, but I didn't necessarily connect it to this assignment when I talked about it. And so I've included the link to the video that introduces the January 30th week, which includes some instruction on authentic learning. And that's something that you can review if needed as you look at how to make your lesson plan and your assignment for this week authentic. You can look back on that intro to January 30th week. It's a YouTube video with my voice. Yay for you. And it also talks about authentic learning. And so that's something you can review as well if needed as you think about authentic learning and need to talk about that in your assignment. How is this learning authentic? What elements of authentic learning are there? So that's something to take a look at too. And then again, don't forget to submit the authentic learning project at the end of this week, or by the end of this week, I should say. So I think that's it. Have a great week. The weather's here in Aberdeen is much warmer now, and hopefully will continue to stay that way. Have a great week.